Discover how one heartwarming act by a CFO transformed a single mom's life in just 30 days. Jenna stood on the crowded street corner, the noise of the city buzzing around her like a swarm of bees. Honking horns and laughter filled the air, but all she could focus on was the weight of the bills in her pocket. Life had thrown punches at her since the divorce, and at 34, she was fighting a relentless battle to provide for Mia and Ethan. They were everything to her. Their bright smiles and joyful laughter made every late-night cleaning job worth it. Yet as the annual school trip loomed closer, anxiety gnawed at her. "Mom, please." It would mean everything. She heard Mia's hopeful voice echoing in her mind. No mother wants to shatter her child's dreams, but dreams cost money she struggled to find as she rushed off to another job. Jenna's heart ached as she imagined their excitement if they could go on that trip. But each day, when she returned home to find their eyes lighting up, her heart broke a little more under the weight of reality. She crouched to their level. "We'll figure something out, I promise," she said, but even she could hear the doubt in her voice. Just underneath that promise, she felt panic rising as bills piled up and she watched her hopes begin to crumble. Then, one afternoon, as she shared her worries with her neighbor Doris, the kindness in Doris's eyes sparked something within her. "Jenna, you can't be afraid to ask for help," she encouraged. "Sometimes, people just don't know the need is there." Jenna nodded, yet every fiber of her being was scared. Scared of rejection. Scared of being seen as weak. But for her kids, she needed to be strong. She found herself standing outside the polished glass doors of a local nonprofit, a knot twisting in her stomach. Mark, the CFO, stood for everything she felt distant from. A life of privilege and a cushy office seemed worlds away from her shared apartment and anxiety over not making rent. As she waited, Jenna couldn't shake the fear that her struggle was insignificant in a sea of rich proposals. But a flicker of hope whispered to her, maybe, just maybe, he would understand. Inside, Mark felt a tug at his heart as he listened to Jenna's story. Her strength reminded him of his single mother, her sacrifices. He wanted to help, but as he pitched her potential sponsorship to the board, he faced skeptical eyes. "We can't give up our resources on this," one member scoffed. But Mark stood firm. He believed in communities coming together, in changing lives just like Jenna's. Next came the fundraiser, but when the turnout fell flat, so did his hopes for Jenna's dream. The reality felt suffocating. Panic consumed him until he found a surge of determination. "We need to rally the community," he declared, envisioning an event where neighbors could lift each other up. The excitement built as residents began coordinating a neighborhood event, fueled by stories of hope and shared struggles. Journals filled with names and skills, baked goods, raffle tickets, and community spirit. Jenna was swept into the heart of this movement, nurtured by the generosity blossoming around her. The day arrived, and with it came a sea of smiling faces converging at the park, laughter intermingling with the sounds of live music. Jenna could hardly breathe, caught between hope and fear. Would they care enough to rally around her story? Or would she stand there, invisible amid the joy? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Jenna gazed out at the crowd, her heart raced. This wasn't just about a trip anymore. It was about a community rising together, and she was at the center of it all. Would her life change that day? The possibility hung heavy in the air, waiting to be realized. The sun shone brightly, the golden rays bouncing off the park's grass like a million tiny sparkles. Jenna felt the warmth on her skin, yet an internal chill gripped her. She clutched her hands together, trying to dispel the unease that settled in her stomach. The crowd was vibrant, families mingling, children laughing, but she felt like an outsider, a wallflower amidst a party. Feeling increasingly overwhelmed, she turned to the small donation booth, its decorated table filled with baked goods, local crafts, and hopeful parents handing out flyers. This was at the moment where her world could potentially tip toward hope. But doubt kept clawing at her, whispering that she wouldn't measure up. "Hey, Jenna." A voice broke through her thoughts. It was Doris, her neighbor, holding a tray of cookies with a grin that could light up the grayest days. "Did you see how many people showed up? We might just pull this off." Jenna forced a smile, even as her throat tightened. "Yeah, I just hoped." Before she could finish, Mark appeared at her side, pulling her attention away from her spiraling thoughts. "It's incredible, isn't it? The way everyone has come together." His enthusiasm was palpable, a stark contrast to her growing anxiety. "It is," she agreed, but hesitated. "Do you truly think people will care enough to support me?" "Absolutely," he said confidently. "Your story is powerful. And you're not alone here. Just look around." He gestured to the crowd, who were all supporting one another, weaving connections through shared struggles. Every single person here has faced their own battles and they want to help. As she watched people sweat from the sun while happily volunteering, competition among children for a lollipop, and friends sharing shots of homemade lemonade, Jenna felt a flicker of hope spark inside her. Maybe, just maybe, she wasn't as alone as she felt. Gathering her resolve, Jenna stepped closer to the fundraising booth. Suddenly, she was aware of her surroundings, the children playing, laughter, and voices mingling comfortably. She drew a deep breath, the scent of cotton candy filling her lungs, and focused on the mission ahead. "I want to share my story," she said, surprising herself. Mark looked pleasantly shocked, and Doris nodded with pride. "I'll help," Doris chimed. "Let's set up a space for you." They moved quickly, planting a small banner that read, "Support Jenna's dream, help her kids go to camp." As Jenna prepared her words, she noticed people pausing, glancing over. A shy girl with pigtails stepped closer, her mother holding her hand tightly. Jenna hesitated, but the sparkle of determination in the girl's eyes urged her forward. It took seconds to gain their attention, and the park hushed slightly, every face shifting their focus to her. Feeling the warmth of the community wash over her, Jenna began to speak. "Thank you all for being here. You don't know how much this means to me, to my kids." As her voice trembled, she caught Mark's supportive gaze. She poured her heart out, not just about the trip, but the struggles of being a single mother, the weight of bills, and the strength of the community that had wrapped around her like a safety net. When she finished, the space was charged with emotion. A respectful silence hung in the air, and then the applause erupted, filling her with an overwhelming rush of gratitude. Tears glistened in her eyes as faces beamed back at her, a mixture of empathy and encouragement. Jenna didn't just feel seen, she felt connected, anchored, but as exhilaration pulsed through the air, she noticed Mark walking away, his face drawn. Her heart sank. What had happened? Had she said something wrong? "Mark, wait!" She called out, instinctively moving toward him, a sense of urgency propelling her forward. What did it mean for her future, and why did he look so troubled? As the cheers faded behind her, Jenna pushed ahead, her heart thumping heavily. The afternoon was about to take another turn, and she could feel it in her bones. "Jenna, wait!" Mark called back, but his voice seemed distant, swallowed by the sounds of the bustling park. Every step she took brought anxiety that tightened like a vice around her chest. He kept moving, his expression unreadable. Was it concern, or something deeper? She finally caught up to him near a shaded area under an old oak tree. The rustle of leaves barely masked the rapid beat of her heart. "Is everything okay?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Mark ran a hand through his hair, a gesture of frustration. I just got word that we may not have enough donations to cover everything we hoped for. It doesn't look good right now." The heaviness in his tone hit her like a brick, and her stomach plummeted. "But we can't give up. I just shared my story." People were moved. Jenna grasped at hope, her voice rising. "They can't just walk away after hearing all that, right? They have to care." I mean, didn't you see how they reacted? Mark glanced back toward the crowd. I did. And it was incredible. But people have their own issues. If we don't meet our target, he let the words hang. The unspoken what if lingered in the air like smoke. Jenna's mind raced. Was it too much to hope for? Here she was, finally feeling seen, but was that just an illusion? What can we do? She asked, desperation creeping into her voice. There has to be a way. Mark met her gaze with sad eyes, as if trying to weigh their options. Maybe we can reach out to some local businesses. Maybe some can make contributions. But the clock is ticking, Jenna. In that moment, Jenna felt the weight of the world settle on her shoulders. She had already taken a step toward hope, but the ground now felt as if it was shifting beneath her. I'll help, she promised, determination pushing through her fear. We can't let this slip away. Mark smiled slightly, a flicker of hope in his eyes. All right, then let us do this together. They quickly returned to the booth, and Jenna began approaching families, then local craftspeople, with renewed vigor. Mark fanned out to connect with vendors setting up tents in a distance, each person now a potential ally in her quest. As they engaged with the crowd, Jenna felt a different kind of warmth spread through her. Conversations flowed. Some people were sympathetic, a few immediately grabbed their wallets to donate. Others listened intently, nodding with understanding. Your story really touches me, one woman said, reaching out to squeeze her hand. My sister was a single mom too, she juggled so much. This community rallies behind those who take the time to ask for help. That sentiment echoed in Jenna's heart. The truth was there. If they could stand together, there was still a chance. But every time a friendly face turned away, Jenna felt that flicker of dread. What if she was asking too much? What if it wasn't enough? After what felt like hours, Mark returned with a group of local business owners. We're ready to help, he said, his voice sharper now, his earlier concern dissolving into palpable energy. They took turns sharing stories, laughter breaking the tension as Jenna stood back to watch. It was no longer just about her dream, it was about bringing people together. And then suddenly, amidst the thriving energy, a familiar figure approached. Jenna's heart skipped a beat. It was her ex-husband, Tom, standing at the edge of the crowd, hands stuffed in his pockets. That was the last thing she had expected today. Jenna, he called, his voice swimming through the noise. Her mind went blank. What did he want? The moment hung heavy in the air as his eyes met hers, and she felt every fiber of her being tense. Had he come to criticize her choices, or was there a chance he understood? As he stepped closer, Jenna's instinct screamed at her to run, but she remained rooted in place. He opened his mouth to speak, and she didn't know whether she was ready for whatever would come next. Can we talk? With uncertainty swirling in her mind, she took a deep breath. What did this unexpected conversation hold for her future? In that moment, amidst a sea of uncertain hearts, everything seemed to hang on what he would say next. Jenna held her breath as she stared at Tom. His familiar face, once a source of comfort, now felt foreign, the lines around his eyes deepened by time and perhaps regret. Talk. She repeated, half asking, half pleading for something more than just an explanation. The crowd around them faded, the laughter and excitement turning into a distant murmur. Tom stepped forward, the weight of the moment palpable. I've been watching what you're doing here, and honestly, I didn't expect to see you so alive. It feels like it's been ages since we connected. He paused, searching her face. I know I didn't support you the way I should have before. And maybe it's time we cleared the air. Her heart sank and raced at the same time. Jenna wasn't sure what she wanted to hear or if she wanted to hear anything at all. Was this a moment of reconciliation or just the ghosts of their past clanging in anguish? I'm busy, Tom. We're trying to raise money for the community, she forced out, her voice steady but cold. I know, he pressed on. I'm not here to disrupt that. I want to help. Help? Jenna scoffed, a mix of disbelief and a hint of bitterness in her tone. Where was this help when I was drowning? Where were you when I needed support? Tom flinched at her words, a shadow flickering across his face. You're right. I messed up. Look, I have some connections with a few companies in town. They might be willing to donate more than just a few dollars. I thought if I could pitch in, it might help you reach your goal. Jenna raised an eyebrow, torn between anger and genuine curiosity. Did she really want his help? But hadn't she often dreamed of a moment like this, a chance to come together and mend what was broken? And why would you do that? She challenged, her arms crossing defensively. After everything? Tom sighed, the anguish of the past glaringly evident in his expression. Because I realize now the struggle you went through. I want to be part of something good, something real. And I want to be part of your life if you'll let me. Jenna felt her heart tremble. His sincerity felt like a double-edged sword. Was it a genuine wish to reconnect, or just guilt manifesting? She opened her mouth, searching for the right response, when Mark appeared at her side. The warmth he'd offered her before surged back, pulling her from the dizzying moment with Tom. Hey, is everything all right? Mark asked, glancing briefly at Tom before focusing on Jenna. We were just talking, Jenna replied slowly, choosing her words carefully, considering how much to let slip about the past. Mark's eyes darted between them as if weighing the tension swirling in the air. Okay, well, we have another potential donor lined up. It's crucial we stay focused. But Jenna felt as if her world had shifted, making it harder for her to concentrate on the goal. Tom thinks he can help us, she finally said, turning back to him. But I don't know if I can trust you after everything. I'm not asking for blind trust, Tom stated firmly. Just a chance to show you I've changed. Let me help you. Please. Jenna's heart raced again. She had wanted change, wanted hope. Could it be that Tom was the key to both? The clock was ticking, the day was unraveling, and yet, she stood at a crossroads of her own making. All right, she said, her voice steadier than she felt. But this better mean something. She didn't see the grin creeping across Tom's face, nor the fleeting glances of skepticism from Mark. Can we meet later to discuss the details? Tom asked, hope lacing his words. Sure, Jenna replied, unaware of the waves this decision would send rippling through her life. With that, she stepped back, disengaging from the tension and returning to the crowd. But the warmth of their fleeting connection was overshadowed by the heavy question in her heart: would she get the help she truly needed, and could she start to forgive the past? As she turned back toward the crowd, Jenna felt the thrill of possibilities, and fear mixed into one heady cocktail. What had she just agreed to, and was she ready to face the truth waiting just beyond the surface? The unforgiving clock ticked on, and she couldn't shake the feeling that time would soon reveal whether this gamble would heal her heart or reopen old wounds. Jenna stepped away from Tom, her mind buzzing. The noise of the crowd, though familiar, felt distant as she navigated through it. The laughter and chatter of people planning their next move drifted past her. She couldn't shake Tom's words from her head, their weight lingering like smoke in the air. Mark fell into step beside her, the lines of concern etched across his brow. You okay? He asked softly, making sure not to draw attention. Yeah, just processing, she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. But deep down, she knew it was more than processing. This felt like standing on shaky ground, as if each decision could tilt her world one way or the other. Don't let him shake you, Jenna. Focus on what we've built together. You don't need him. Mark's tone was protective, the kind that wrapped around her like a warm blanket. But Tom's presence lingered stubbornly, a ghost that wouldn't let go. I know, but what if he really can help? She mused. What if he's changed? Mark shook his head, his expression firm. People don't change overnight. You know that. Listen to your gut. Jenna wanted to, but her heart kept leading her in circles. The idea of Tom as a part of her life again, even as a distant figure helping with fundraising, felt both tempting and terrifying. The clock was ticking towards their pivotal meeting later. "Let us regroup with the team," Mark suggested. "We need to harness that energy from earlier. We're so close to hitting our goal." Jenna nodded, grateful for a distraction. She needed the momentum, a tangible reminder of why she had poured herself into this project. Gathering their volunteers in the community center felt comforting, like stepping into a family that understood her struggle and dreams. They settled into a corner, setting up makeshift tables and discussing strategies. Laughter erupted as they shared stories, the people she worked with breathing life back into her. Little by little, Jenna felt the warmth of enthusiasm building, a reminder that she wasn't alone in her fight, but even as the plans took shape, her mind darted back to Tom. What if he could truly help? What if he'd found a way to be part of something meaningful? Her momentary doubts flared again, but each time she pushed them away, something within her flickered. Perhaps it was hope. The day wore on, and as the sun dipped below the horizon, Jenna felt the heaviness of her decision settle in. She had agreed to meet Tom, but what lay ahead was shrouded in uncertainty. The question nagged at her like an old wound that refused to heal. Could she trust him? Finally, the clock struck 6, and Jenna found herself pacing in her small kitchen, a tank full of nerves and a racing heart. She glared at her reflection in the window, as if searching for answers within her own eyes. "Come on, Jenna. You can do this," she whispered, drawing in a breath that barely quelled her racing heart. The doorbell rang, pulling her from her ruminations. Her heart pounded as she opened the door to find Tom standing on her porch. The twilight illuminated his face, revealing a nervous smile that held an emotion she couldn't quite place, a mix of hope, nerves, and maybe something more. "Are you ready?" he asked, and for a moment, it felt like the world had shrunk to just the two of them. But was she ready? Before they could step into a new chapter, the last vestiges of doubt clawed at her mind. As they moved toward the car, Jenna's heartbeat quickened. Would she be stepping into a new beginning, or was she opening the door to something that might lead to heartache? They got in, and as he turned the key in the ignition, the engine roared to life, mirroring the mixed emotions swirling inside her. "Let us do this," she said, anchoring herself with determination. As they drove into the night, a question surfaced in her mind, thundering louder than the engine outside. What truths lay ahead, and would they be strong enough to withstand the past? The car glided smoothly through the streets, the dim glow of streetlights illuminating Tom's face. Jenna stole glances at him, trying to decipher the changes in him. There was an eagerness there, a wistful hope that tugged at her heart. Alongside that was the anxiety that clutched her stomach. A million questions swirled in her mind, battering her with uncertainty. "Where to?" Tom asked, his eyes fixed straight ahead. How about we start with the coffee shop on Maple?" Jenna suggested, her voice steadier than she felt. "Perfect. I know just the place." He smiled, and for a moment, it felt as if they were back in college, the carefree days where everything was easy and light. But those days belonged to another lifetime, didn't they? As they drove, the familiar sights came and went. Each corner turned brought up memories she had stashed away, their late-night talks, the laughter shared over silly videos, the plans they had made before life pulled them apart. "Hey, Jenna," Tom broke the silence, glancing at her. "I've missed this. Us talking." She nodded, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. "I've missed it too. But I also remember why we stopped. Things were complicated back then. But I've done a lot of thinking since then." His voice was low, thoughtful. "I want to make it right." The weight of his words sunk in. Make what right? She didn't know if she was ready for this conversation. "We can't just skip the past. It doesn't work like that." "I know," he said, his eyes serious. "But I want to show you that I've changed. That I'm not the same person I was." Jenna felt a flicker of hope ignite again, but the memory of their tumultuous past loomed large. It's not just about you, Tom. There are other people involved now. My life has changed. I know that. He turned to her, sincerity radiating from every word. I want to help you with the project, Jenna. I want to be part of something meaningful, something we can build together. The car slowed as they arrived at the coffee shop, and Jenna's thoughts raced. Was he serious about this? Or was this just a way to ease his own guilt? They parked, and before she could respond, Tom was out of the car, rushing to open her door. It was a small gesture, but under the circumstances, it felt monumental. Jenna hesitated, her foot lingering over the ground before stepping out. Standing beside him felt like standing on the edge of a decision that could tilt her world yet again. Inside the shop, the aroma of fresh coffee wrapped around them like a cozy blanket, distracting her momentarily from the tension that had built up between them. They found a small table in the corner, slightly away from the bustle of people. I ordered for you, Tom said, his smile infectious as he handed her a steaming cup. Your favorite vanilla latte with almond milk. She chuckled softly, touched by the thought. You remember. Some things stay with you, he replied, the warmth in his voice palpable. As they settled into familiar conversation, Jenna couldn't shake the feeling that something fundamental was changing. The laughter came easier, the ease between them slowly returning, but lurking just beneath the surface was the specter of their shared past, threatening to rip through whatever fragile connection they were beginning to rebuild. Just as Jenna was starting to feel hopeful, the moment was interrupted by a text that flashed across Tom's phone. He glanced at it and his expression shifted. The carefree vibe shattered, replaced by something Jenna couldn't quite place: fear, perhaps, or regret. What is it? She asked, her heart sinking. Tom hesitated, deep lines forming on his forehead. It's about work. I need to take this. As he stepped outside to take the call, Jenna felt a sense of unease wash over her. Was this the beginning of something wonderful or simply another open door leading her back into pain? She stared into her coffee, wondering where this would lead them. Would she come to regret this meeting, or would it spark a new path? With every tick of the clock, the tension mounted. And as Tom stood outside, talking on his phone, Jenna realized she had a pivotal choice to make. Could she take the leap, or would she succumb to her fears? What awaited her when he returned? Tom's voice drifted in from outside, muffled but still clear enough for Jenna to catch snippets of his conversation. He sounded anxious, maybe frustrated, and her stomach twisted tighter. What was so important that it had pulled him away at a time like this? She shifted in her seat, the warmth of the latte slowly cooling in her hands. The small cafe buzzed with life, chatter mixing with the sound of espresso machines, but Jenna felt miles away. Her thoughts spiraled, imagining all the ways this could go wrong. What if he was just here to say goodbye, to release himself from responsibility? Just as those dark thoughts gathered like storm clouds, she caught sight of Tom through the window. Sipping his coffee, his gaze was distant, lost somewhere beyond the street. In that moment, he appeared smaller, burdened under the weight of whatever news he was hearing. Her heart ached for him, an unexpected pang of compassion slipping through her fear. When he finally returned, it was as if he carried the world on his shoulders. He sat down across from her, a new heaviness replaced the warmth in his eyes. I'm sorry about that, he said, pinching the bridge of his nose. Work stuff. Just unexpected changes. Changes? Jenna echoed, her voice softer now, pulling on a thread of empathy. Is everything okay? Tom hesitated, his fingers tracing the rim of his cup. My CFO position is unstable. Something's happening with the company, and they might be restructuring. I could lose everything. Jenna's heart raced. This wasn't just about them anymore. What does that mean for you? What will you do? I don't know, he muttered, and the defeat in his tone struck her. I've worked so hard to build my career. This was supposed to be my big break. He paused, a flash of something deeper crossing his face: raw fear, vulnerability. And now I don't want to go back to being that guy who just walked away. Tom, you can't carry it all by yourself, she said, feeling her own worries shift. Somehow, his pain made her past hurt less potent. You're not alone in this. He met her gaze, surprise flickering in his eyes, but it was quickly replaced by determination. That's why I want to be involved in the project you're working on. I want to contribute, feel like I'm part of something real again. I've been stuck for so long. For a heartbeat, shock gripped her. This was the second time he said he wanted to be part of her life. The thought sent warmth flooding through her, mingled with caution. His motives felt pure, but scars don't easily fade. I appreciate that. But can you really commit when you have so much on your plate? I need to do this, he said, more insistent now. Especially now. I want to rebuild, not just for the job but for us. Heavy silence draped itself around them, thick with unvoiced feelings. Jenna's pulse quickened at the prospect of opening herself up again. Could she really chart this course together with him? A moment of clarity struck her, illuminating the path. She leaned in slightly, half lost in his gaze. If you're in, we'll need to be honest with each other. No holding back. I promise, he said, his voice steadying. No more running. As they shared a tentative smile, the cafe noise faded into the background. For the first time in a long while, Jenna felt a flicker of hope ignite within her. Maybe this could be the start of something new, something that brought light back into their lives, but as the door swung open and a rush of cold air sent a chill through the cafe, a familiar figure caught Jenna's eye. Her pulse quickened. It was Lauren, her old friend from college, the one person she had never wanted to see in this moment. The sight of her lingered like a storm cloud above. Jenna's stomach tightened as she realized that the past might not be finished with her yet. What could this unexpected encounter mean for their newfound resolve? Jenna's breath hitched as Lauren approached, her brown hair bouncing with each step. Years had drifted by since they last saw each other, yet Lauren's bright smile felt like a roaring reminder of everything Jenna had tried to forget. Jenna! Lauren exclaimed, her voice slicing through the cafe chatter like a knife. She waved, seemingly oblivious to the turbulence brewing inside Jenna. Wow, it's been ages. Yeah, it has, Jenna replied, forcing a smile, the words barely making it past the tight knot in her throat. Lauren's kind eyes scanned Jenna before settling on Tom, who was still seated across from her. The surprise darted across his face, quickly masked by a polite smile. And you must be Tom, Lauren said, extending a hand. I've heard a lot about you. Tom accepted her handshake, though Jenna could see the weariness in his gaze. Nice to meet you, he said, voice steady but his grip firm. What a perfect day for coffee. Mind if I join? Lauren asked, her tone lighting up the room. Jenna exchanged a quick glance with Tom, uncertainty dancing between them. Part of her wanted to wave off Lauren, to hide in their cocoon of vulnerability. But another part, a stronger pull of nostalgia, couldn't bear to reject her. Sure, grab a chair, she replied, forcing openness into her words. As Lauren settled into the seat next to Tom, Jenna's heart thudded with unease. Small talk began, the two of them laughed about past college memories, but Jenna felt like an observer in her own life. Everyone chatted while she struggled to find a foothold between her past and her present. Can't believe we all ended up here, Lauren said cheerfully, leaning back in her chair. What are you two up to these days? Tom exchanged a cautious glance with Jenna, who gulped. This was a crucial moment. She could either share his burdens or let the past swallow her whole. We're working on a project together, Jenna finally said, her voice tentative but determined, shifting from an inner dialogue of doubt to a declaration of partnership. Oh. Lauren raised an eyebrow, curiosity piqued. That sounds interesting. What kind of project? It's a bit of a community initiative, Tom jumped in, confidence blooming in his voice. Something we both feel passionate about. Jenna silently cheered him on. He was reclaiming his voice, and for a moment, they were together in this. So, Jenna, have you thought about your last exhibit? Lauren's voice turned sharper. I remember you always had that talent for storytelling through your art. Jenna clenched her jaw. Yes, the exhibit, the one that left her with lingering self-doubt. I haven't really focused on that lately, she replied, honesty creeping into her tone. Things have been more complicated. Complicated how? Lauren leaned in, her curiosity palpable, but something darker flickered behind her friendly demeanor. Jenna hesitated, the conversation shifting toward uncomfortable terrain. Just life, you know. She avoided Lauren's gaze, fixing her attention on the rim of her half-finished latte. Tom squeezed her hand under the table. That small gesture sparked warmth inside her, reminding her that she was not alone. He understood her struggles not just professionally but personally, too. Suddenly, Lauren's expression turned from intrigue to something sharper, almost prying. I heard about your breakup. How are you holding up? Every bit of warmth in the cafe seemed to drain out, leaving only a tension-filled silence. Jenna's heart raced, the weight of their past a heavy anchor. What was the point of dredging up old wounds? But then she caught Tom's steady gaze, filled with strength and support. Maybe it was time to take back control over her narrative. I'm doing just fine, thanks, Jenna finally said, her voice stronger than she'd expected. Better than I've been in a long time. Lauren blinked, caught off guard. Oh, that's good to hear, she replied, but the uncertainty in her voice hinted at something more. Jenna could feel the shift. The resolve she'd just begun to forge could easily be disrupted by the looming shadow of her past. As they navigated the conversation, Jenna knew this wouldn't be the last encounter. Would the newfound light between Jenna and Tom withstand the probing questions of the past? Before she could find her footing, Lauren smiled again, her eyes sparkling with intrigue. I think we should all catch up more often. As Jenna heard the words leave Lauren's lips, she couldn't shake the feeling that an unexpected storm was brewing on the horizon. How deep were the wounds of their shared history, and could they ever truly heal when they were still being poked at? She locked eyes with Tom, knowing they needed to face whatever came next together. Jenna forced a smile in response to Lauren's bright enthusiasm, but inside she felt a swell of anxiety. The truth was, catching up with Lauren meant reopening chapters she wasn't sure she wanted to revisit. So, are you still painting? Lauren asked, leaning forward. Her interest seemed genuine, but Jenna couldn't help but sense an undertone of scrutiny. No, not really, Jenna replied, trying to keep her tone light. I've shifted gears, focusing on the community project with Tom. Tom jumped in, Jenna's got some great ideas. We're really trying to make a difference. His smirk was encouraging, and Jenna leaned into the warmth of his support, though part of her cringed at the thought of having to discuss her past art career. Community work is so important. Lauren nodded, sipping her coffee. But you should still do something for yourself, Jenna. Your art was always your passion. An uncomfortable silence stretched between them. It felt like an accusation, a reminder of everything Jenna had walked away from. She looked down at her latte, unsure of how to respond without letting the tension boil over. I just needed a change, Jenna said tentatively, feeling the weight of Lauren's gaze. I'm still figuring out what that looks like. Have you thought about showcasing any of your work again? Lauren's question, so casual and light, felt like a challenge. Time felt suspended. Jenna's heart pounded. She wanted to scream that she didn't need the past picked apart, but instead she managed a weak shake of her head. Not right now. I think I'm on a different path. Tom shifted in his seat, reaching out to place a reassuring hand on Jenna's. Growth often means stepping outside your comfort zone, he added, his voice steady. And sometimes, that takes time. Lauren's light demeanor faltered for a moment, and Jenna thought she saw a flicker of frustration in her expression. But everything you've been through is part of who you are. How can you just let it go? The air thickened with tension, and Jenna felt her defenses rising, ready to shield her heart from an onslaught of past grievances. She looked at Tom. He held her gaze, encouraging her to be open, but also to protect herself. I think it's about moving forward, Jenna responded, her voice firmer now. I'm learning to embrace new opportunities. It's not about letting go, it's about growing. Lauren nodded slowly, but the tension stayed thick. Right, growth, she said. But what if that growth means confronting the past? We can't fully move forward if we're holding on to unresolved feelings, right? The words hung heavily in the air. Jenna's eyes widened as she felt exposed, like the walls she had built around herself were crumbling away. Tom squeezed her hand tighter, grounding her. Maybe some things don't have to be resolved in the same way, he interjected. Sometimes, acceptance is a form of growth too. A spark of gratitude shot through Jenna. Tom's support wrapped around her like a warm blanket, shielding her from the storm outside. As their eyes connected, a shared understanding flowed between them. But Lauren's focus didn't sway. Jenna, you have to know I don't have to do anything, Jenna interjected, her voice rising slightly and surprising even herself. I know who I am now, and it feels good. I can't just keep looking back because it's uncomfortable. Stunned silence followed, the cafe buzzing around them. Jenna felt her heart racing as she struggled to regain her composure. In that moment, the conversation wasn't just about her past art career, it was about reclaiming her voice, her life, and her choices. Just then, Lauren's phone buzzed loudly on the table, breaking the tension. She glanced at it, a frown creasing her brow. Sorry, I have to take this. As Lauren stepped away, Jenna felt an overwhelming sense of relief mixed with a lingering unease. What just happened? Tom asked quietly, his eyes searching hers. Jenna shrugged, unsure of how to put it into words. I guess I finally stood up for myself, but at what cost? Tom's grip tightened around her hand, and she knew whatever came their way next, they would face it together. But as Lauren ended her call and returned with an unreadable expression, Jenna felt the weight of their unfinished conversation looming like a dark cloud above them. What would this unexpected reunion reveal next? The air crackled with unresolved tension as Lauren sat down, her friendly demeanor replaced by an uncertain veil that hung heavily over their table. Jenna glanced at Tom, seeking the comfort of his supportive smile, but found only a shared apprehension reflected in his eyes. Sorry about that, Lauren said, her voice a little more subdued. You know how it is. Sometimes business calls you back. Jenna nodded, grateful for the distraction. No worries. We were just catching up. But Lauren leaned in, that all too familiar gleam in her eye making Jenna bristle. What was that about you moving forward? There it was again, an insinuation cloaked in concern. It sounds like you're trying to reinvent yourself. Is that a problem? Jenna challenged, her heart pounding. She could feel the protective armor around her shifting. Of course not. I just wonder if you're trying to run away from your past, Lauren replied, genuine confusion creasing her brows. Jenna clenched her jaw. I'm not running away. I'm moving forward. In what way? You've always been an artist, Lauren pressed, undeterred. You went through so much. Why not channel it into something that matters? I don't need to channel anything, especially not painful experiences, Jenna burst out, her voice echoing above the cafe chatter. I'm learning to embrace what's ahead, to focus on my kids and my community. That's what matters. Tom reached across the table, squeezing Jenna's hand tighter, a silent reminder of strength. Sometimes our paths shift in unexpected ways, he added calmly. Jenna's choices are valid, and they reflect her growth, not her failures. The conversation hung, thick with challenge. Lauren didn't back down. But if you ignore the past, it will always linger. You have a story to tell. You can't ignore that. If I focus on the past, I'll drown in it. Jenna's voice resonated with frustration and determination. Inside, her heart raced, traversing the landscape of old wounds. I want to create something new, something hopeful. Silence settled between them, and Jenna felt a weight lift with each conviction she voiced. And yet, the sense of unease persisted. She knew the truth, confronting the past wasn't easy, and while Lauren's words stung, they also carried a sliver of honesty. Tom broke the silence. For what it's worth, journeys don't always follow the same path. Jenna's right to seek out what she needs. And so am I. He met Jenna's eyes, a supportive ally standing shoulder to shoulder against the world. Lauren opened her mouth, then closed it. The unexpected camaraderie between Tom and Jenna seemed to shift the dynamics, perhaps subtly disarming her. After a moment, Lauren smiled softly, the sharp edge of interrogation dissipating. "All right, maybe I see your point," she conceded. "I just want what's best for you, Jen. I've seen you struggle and don't want you to throw away anything you're passionate about." "It's a balance," Jenna murmured, relief threading through her voice. "Life's about moving forward while still honoring who we are, even if it looks different now." "Exactly," Tom added. "Finding that balance is a part of our growth, just like Jenna said. The community project reflects her new mission, and we're doing it together." "Together," Jenna echoed, the warmth of his support wrapping around her like a comforting blanket. It felt as if the air had lightened, allowing hope to seep in past the barriers. Lauren finally smiled, and Jenna could almost feel the spirit of reconciliation between them. "It's always good to see you two thriving together." "Thanks, Lauren," Jenna said, her heart swelling at the compliment. "Support makes a difference, especially after everything." Just then, Tom's phone chimed, bringing a shift of attention. He pulled it out, his brow furrowing as he read the message. The tension returned, however faintly, as Jenna felt a ripple of concern take hold. "Everything okay?" Jenna asked, bracing for the fallout. Tom hesitated before responding. "It's just the company. They want to bring in additional fundraising partners, which could affect the plan." His voice trailed off. "Oh. Wow." Jenna's stomach knotted again. "What does that mean for us?" "Possibly changes, new strategies, more complexity," he said, the weight creeping back onto his shoulders. "But we can handle it, I'm sure of it." Jenna took a deep breath, willing the worry to dissipate. "We've come this far. We won't back down now. This community needs our voices, and we're just starting to be heard." Tom smiled at her determination, visibly buoyed by her words. "Yes. Together." Just as they began to forge this new understanding, Lauren's phone buzzed again. She glanced down, her face shifting into an expression of mild alarm. "I'll catch up with you both later. I've got to take this," she said, hastily standing as she slipped out the door. "Thanks for stopping by," Jenna called, a sense of relief washing over her. As they watched Lauren leave, Tom turned back to Jenna, the previous tension now shifted into something warm, something promising. "Ready to embrace what lies ahead?" he asked, a spark of encouragement in his voice. "More than ready," she replied, the initial fear melting away. Jenna reached out and took his hand, or perhaps he took hers. All she knew was that it felt right. They were two people, standing together against uncertainty, fueled by hope and the possibility of transformation. As they stepped outside into the cool evening air, the world felt different, brighter. Gray clouds that once loomed overhead now parted, revealing the potential of a fresh start. "Together," she said again, grounding herself in the word, feeling it resonate deep within. "Yes, together," Tom echoed, and Jenna smiled back at him, ready to conquer whatever challenges awaited. In that moment, as the fading sun cast a golden hue across the street, she felt hope blossom like wildflowers in the cracks of pavement. This was it, this was their turn, and with that kernel of hope rooted in her heart, Jenna knew deep down that she would fight for her dreams and her family every step of the way, but if they were to affect real change, they would need the support of their community. As she walked with Tom toward the project's future, she felt invigorated by a purpose that transcended everything. She would connect with those around her and uplift others in their mutual struggle, forging bonds that would last. "Let us go rally support," Jenna said with renewed vigor. "We have more work to do." "Yes," Tom agreed, an infectious grin spreading across his face. And hand in hand, they ventured into the twilight, filled with strength, hope, and possibility. Now, this is your moment. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories that will fill your heart with inspiration. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. It truly makes a difference in sharing these tales. Comment below your feelings about this transformative journey. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this powerful change. Your support means the world.